it becomes painful when you don't necessarily reap the fruits of what you really invested yourself in because of a few corrupt individuals who tried to bypass the system. I struggled. I'm not going to lie.
It's a true struggle.
That year until I think December, from I think July, there was so much on God's side. There was so much silence and so much noise from within me. Someone might just look at these books and say, it's easy. 1, 2, 3, he's releasing a book a year and all these things. I mean, I'm at that level now.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, Infinite Teen took me 3 years.
Sure.
And that's actually the shortest book I've written in my life.
Dumelang bagaetsho ko gae, and welcome back to Conversations with Madam President. I hope you know that this is not just a show, but a show that tells you stories of hope and possibilities. And I'm so grateful and happy today to tell you that we have an inspirational young man here with us to share his story, not only his story, to leave a pathway, a legacy for those who are coming after him. I mean, his work on its own is incredible. And I couldn't miss the opportunity to bring him here to share the journey with the world because, wow. Muhluri, welcome to Conversation with Madam President.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
How do you feel? It's a Friday.
No, it's an honor. It's an honor. I feel very grateful. I feel very joyful. And yeah, what better way to start my weekend than with you?
It's amazing. And
Yes.
I saw you posting your book, your new book, and I saw all other books that you released. And can you take a moment and look at your work? So when we get into it, everyone should be able to know what we're talking about. Evidence of your work is here. How do you feel to see these books right here? It's your own work.
It feels amazing. I mean, even the way you set it up,
Sure.
kind of like portrays a very massive message. I mean, it's something different to look at when it's on my table and it's just like my books. But, seeing it like this, it's like, wow, okay. This is a generational project in the making.
This is legacy. This is a pathway for those who are coming after you.
Indeed.
And they will be saying, there's no way that we can fail. There's no way that we can give up. There's no way that we can say something is impossible because evidence is here. This is possibility, especially for a Black child.
Amen.
Welcome to Conversation with Madam President. Let's get into it. Before we can get into it, let's speak about what's happening in our country, just to get the sense of where you are as a young man, and not only a young man. I'm speaking to someone who is, planting a seed to those who are coming after us. I'm speaking to a young man who does that through writing, bringing your thoughts in paper through, your writing. We see Madlanga. And one thing that I specifically want to talk about, I was watching it yesterday, and they were talking about this young lady, Miss Mukwele, who has been to court, right? Because as the advocate of IDEC, Advocate Johnson, she was alluding that some of the decisions that they made them from, she didn't even go through the proper proceedings, checking her qualification, but it was more like she got a recommendation. So what I'm trying to get at is we are focusing on Miss Mukwele as a Black young lady who amassed herself with education. She qualified for that position, right? She did qualify and overqualified as we were looking at the senior Madlanga. However, you know what really brought me sadness? It made me realize that education for us is not just a matter of qualification, but we are fighting a battle way before qualification. It's you can't just say, I have this degree and that. It's more deeper than that. What does education mean to you as a Black young man?
I mean, with the point that you're making, you are very right. It's deeper than that, And looking at our history, 400 years of oppression and also there's apartheid there and so many other things, right? So as a Black person, you're born into this nation or even in Africa, generations behind, right? So now you need to kind of fix the mistakes of your parents and, great grandparents and all that in order to start life afresh with many people from other races, right? So fortunately, it's some of the things that are argued in Rethinking Black Consciousness, as you may see, right? Education is very important for us as Black people. And there's no, we look at other people, they say you can, for example, use art to make it out there. You can use this to make it out there and all these things. But do they really go the distance? You know what I mean? So then education then becomes important in that aspect. And as you're saying about Musmukwele, about having studied a lot and everything like that, right? It becomes painful when you don't necessarily reap the fruits of what you really invested yourself in because of a few corrupt individuals who try to bypass the system. But above all, I mean, me writing so many books and everything like that, I can't just say it's talent alone. Education played a massive role. And for young black people, I think if we can look at it, there's an engagement I once had, I think 2 years ago, with this other gentleman, and he was telling me about the Jews, and, you know, and he said the reason they're partner or some of the most successful people in the world is because of even the level of education, you know. He said you will go to Jewish families and all that, and then it's a norm to find people, masters, you know, PhDs. One has a PhD and another master's in this. You know, it's quite like tradition to them, you know. And then it makes you look at even the governance of the nations.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They are governed by highly qualified people. So even things like corruption, I mean, every country has corruption, but they don't necessarily affect them the way they do us. Because in South Africa, you can take someone who just has a matric. Just because they are your cousin or whatever, you can place them at whatever position because they're not going to give you resistance, and you can loot the department as you want. I mean, we're seeing it in Madlanga, right? I mean, even I believe it's the gentleman from right here in the East, man, in the EMPD, Julius Mkwanazi, you know, they asked him about his studies, and he could not even properly explain them himself. You see what I mean? So it then just goes to show that there are many people in extremely powerful positions, but they don't have the education to lead us. Hence, there's so much corruption, there's so many loopholes and so many things like that. So to every young person watching this, or every young person out there, I'd really encourage them to study. Because one thing that's a fact, we don't have a trust fund as black people.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? We're born into poverty. And it's not even a sentimental story or, you know, whatever that we can use for privilege or whatever. We're born into poverty. You look at the townships, the villages. I myself was born into a village, you know. Education is the only thing that can get us to where we desire. And not just studying just for one paper. Let's push ourselves, you know. Let's go for the honors. Let's go for the masters. Let's go for the PhD. Let's work so hard to a point that we reach a point where our parliament is filled with doctorates, you know. Presidents who have PhDs, ministers with masters and all these things like that. And I think South Africa will definitely go somewhere.
I believe so, because I'm speaking to future leaders here.
Amen.
And going back to education, I share the same sentiments, because education means something different to us as black people. It's not only a matter of access, because even if you are qualified, access is something else, because it's based on so many aspects. Some of them are beyond our control. So what would you say about education and morality, looking at what is happening? Because I believe that there should be a shift in young people, especially when we see day-to-day occurrences in Madlanga, to say, I can no longer afford to see education as a mere education. It should be able to shift my perspective to not only amass myself with education. What about morality? What about, you know, expanding my mind to learning about socio-economic, not only international relations? How do I position myself to fit into this world in a way that there will never be a reason for us as black people not to be in places that we deserve to be? And deserve, I don't mean that just because the history says something about us, then automatically we are working hard. We are using education as a tool to open doors for us, because we understand the state of us as black people. For us to get into big doors, or education is the only thing that speaks for us. But then with education alone is not enough, because if you are a leader, you are in such a place, and morality is not even an important aspect of your life. It results into things like this. How would you, you know, put education and morality in one? How would you, you know, put it in a sense, how are they important to you? I think that's the question I want to ask you. Education and morality. How would you inspire others to actually put them together moving forward?
I think it comes to what we were discussing just before the show started.
Yeah.
We were discussing the likes of Dr. Miles Monroe. And we spoke about how he invested himself heavily into things like teaching character, values, and so many things. So all these things start at home, right? They start at home. They start regarding parents have a very, very, very big duty regarding how to instill positive characteristics, humility, integrity, and all these things, right? Certain things cannot be taught in school. They need to be taught at home. They need to be taught within the community. They need to be taught within the church, or rather religious aspects, since other people are from different religions. People need to be taught to basically, this is one of the, right, if I can put it in terms of my writing, one of my inspirations is God.
Yeah.
Right. I ground myself as a Christian into like my belief in God, right? So basically you need to have something that grounds you, your foundation. I mean, I can write all the books. I can maybe make all the money. I can get all the accolades, the education and all these things. But without the foundation, when the foundation is rotten, everything is bound to crumble. Right. So now we are in a place where even other people have attained education, they've attained these things, roles, power, positions, but the foundation is rotten. So we need to then go back to where it should start. At home. The parents need to teach the children the right values, the right principles, and even young people need to listen and learn, because it's one thing for parents to teach and it's another for the young people to take in. And another challenge that we experience in the modern day and age is social media. Social media and media are basically creating a large noise about many things that lack value, many things that lack principles, and many things that lack, or rather promoting negative characteristics and virtues.
It does.
There's so many things. I mean, if you go on TikTok and all these platforms, there are so many influencers who are preaching the wrong message. And I think that's one of the problem right now. Influencers are part of the leading voices in teaching in communities. So back then, I mean, there would be some, as they call it, traditional media. So maybe like the news and all these platforms, and only people who are basically accredited, right, or licensed enough would be engaging with the world, teaching certain principles, teaching certain things and characteristics, the likes of Dr. Miles Monroe. But right now, I mean, social media is beautiful because it creates a lot of platforms. I mean, just like this conversation, YouTube and everything, it does create platforms. But the problem is that there's no licensing. Everyone can just say a thing. Just because data is accessible and social media is accessible and everything, I can just wake up and take my phone and say, these are the keys of a good marriage and whatnot, and speak, some things that I don't even know, some things that are not even, for example, according to me, biblical, some things that are not even God-led or even God-inspired. There's so many things and so many toxic voices out there and so many toxic noises. This social media influencer said this. Now this child believes that influencer more than their parents, more than the spiritual leaders, more than the teachers, and more than all these type of things. One can just say, hey, you don't need school to make it. All you need is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No, just be honest with the young people. Tell them that couple school with these things, because, for example, let's look at music artists. I mean, after 30 or even 35, most of them start struggling, whereas if you were to tell them to say, young people, alongside music, pursue education, because once you've accumulated the fame, the money and everything, you can then translate that into business, start a recording company, start a podcast, start this brand and all these things like that, So people are not being honest, and there are so many voices out there. There are so many, to be frank and to be a bit raw, there are so many demonic voices out there, and so it's causing a lot of problems. Recently I remember engaging with this other young person, and then they were like, I don't believe in marriage. These influencers have separated, and I'm like, a young person, and I'm like, okay, cool. What about your parents? No, my parents are still together. And I'm like, why aren't you learning these principles at home?
I mean, that's motivation enough. You are seeing that every day. Why not?
Why don't you take what you are seeing at home and applying it in the real world, instead of taking what influencers are saying, instead of taking what influencers are doing and all these things, So now we have children who are groomed by social media, influencers and all these things. When they become leaders, they might not have the right principles within them. I mean, to study and become successful is one thing, but to be a positive role model in society, a person of character, is a different thing. And if we look at the ideology of intelligence.
Yeah.
There's IQ, EQ, AQ, and SQ, rather. Right? So IQ is all about intelligence.
Yeah.
You can have the highest IQ, but have the lowest EQ, emotional intelligence, adaptability quotient, and even social intelligence. You can have very poor of that and have the highest IQ, meaning that it does not restrict you from getting to where you want, because you can pass, get those distinctions, get that PhD.
In advance.
But because your social intelligence is poor, you will treat people like animals.
Getting into that, everything is so fast. Going back to the lifestyle, social media, it makes it look like everything is easy and everything is so fast. I want us to talk about character building, right, and longevity, because everyone wants to make it simply because I can wake up in the morning and say, guys, if you 5 tips to make you successful, and I shoot myself in front of someone's Porsche and you think it's mine. But then I want to bring consciousness to the process and to season of life. Not only that, the character building as well, and speaking about longevity. How would you align the three? You're speaking about the character, right? We're speaking about time, seasons of life, and also longevity. How would you align those three?
In all honesty,
Yeah.
life is tough.
I
think we need to be honest.
Yeah.
Life is very, very tough.
Sure.
And even the process is actually very tough. Very, very tough.
Not easy.
Someone might just look at these books and say, it's easy. 1, 2, 3. He's releasing a book a year and all these things. I mean, I'm at that level now.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, Infinite Teen took me 3 years.
Sure.
And that's actually the shortest book I've written in my life, because I had to learn the skill. I had to learn how to write, self-taught, everything, how to structure the words, the vocabulary, the message, the research, and everything like that. And then you hear me say Infinite Elevation and Infinite Breakthroughs was released in 2026 both. You know, and you think it's easy just because I'm now at that level. No.
There was a time where you had to do the work.
Exactly. The foundation. There are no steps, 10 steps, 10 secrets, or 10 ingredients to success. None of that exists.
Sure.
None of that. Even when someone says, how do you do it? What can I do? What are the tricks, the hacks? There's none. It's doing the work. Doing the work.
And the work is difficult.
It is difficult.
And well, some of them says it's pruning, because we can have all the intelligence in the world, and God just says it's not yet time.
Exactly.
Let's work on you. So would you like to share maybe your pruning process before you could be able to birth all this material? Because you need to be able to relate the reality to young people out there. They see the books and they just want to align with the outcome. But there was a before. In the secret place, you went through some things. It has to be the character building, the shedding, there were so many things that we're going through behind doors. We are only seeing the glory now, but there's a story. Please
in the
share
cave of Adullam.
Indeed. Please share the story with us.
I mean, if you look at the book Infinite Life, Young, Single and Free, that was actually a season on its own.
Sure.
So my books, one thing I love about them, they're prophetic, right? So if I am to write a certain book, and then I get a certain title from God, people think I come up with these. No, like I receive it from God through the inspiration, Once I receive a certain title and certain inspiration to write about a certain thing which is about a certain season, sometimes it scares me because I know that's something that I might be going into,
And it's painful. It's like, now God wants me to be naked in front of the...
Imagine, you know what I mean? I mean, I've written everything. There's no book that God has not called me right now to write maybe about becoming a young millionaire or anything. It's now still about Infinite Life, Young, Single and Free, So it was just before I entered the season of singleness. I mean, I was just dating, which I think I was 2023. I think I was in my second university, if I'm not mistaken. And then I was just kind of dating, just having fun, enjoying life and everything like that. And then God was like, I want you to write a book about singleness. I'm like, what? And then I tried to ignore that. I tried to ignore that. And then it kept persisting.
Was it because you felt like I can't write about something that I'm not yet in?
Besides about feelings.
Yeah.
Like my relationship with God has now reached that level where I'm obedient in such a way that if he says, this is the mandate, I don't question.
You go about it.
I go about it.
Sure.
I mean, it's very challenging.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I might delay for a long time, but if I delay for a long time because of my relationship with him, right? Sometimes he he goes ahead and, you know, if maybe, for example, I'm holding on to, like, let's say a certain relationship and he wants me to write about singleness, he's going to end it, you know.
Because he's telling you about it.
Yes, and I'm being ignorant. And whenever I pray, and I'm a person who has built a lot through fasting, hence infinite breakthroughs, 11 reasons to fast for your spiritual breakthrough.
Sure.
So in that season of wilderness, for the most part of my life was also filled with a lot of fasting in order to connect with him. So, I mean, that's what he called me to do. He calls people to different things.
Different things, absolutely.
Some people will say this, some people say that. For me, it was, you know, the wilderness,
yes,
the singleness, the fasting. So I had to kind of observe certain fasts, 21-day fast, you know, just be fasting there. And then he'd be like, I want you alone. I don't want any distractions, no friends, no nothing.
I want you alone.
I want you alone. This is a time whereby you and I need to build a relationship. And then it would just be me there, my academics, reading the Bible, you know, studying the word in and out, you know, studying sermons, Dr. Miles Monroe, this type of leader, you know, just dwelling in him and just praying and just fasting. I mean, there was a time, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2023 or 2024. But I mean, it was happening from between 2022 until 2025, right?
Yeah.
So there'd be times whereby he'd be like, I want you to go on a fast 21 days, you know? So it's like an intermittent fast, 6 to 6.
Yeah.
So I'd not be eating meat around that time, not eating between 6 and 6. And then immediately after when I reach on the 21st day, and I'm like, I'm done, I'm happy and everything like that. The next day when I take a break and get back to my real life, I just hear the word.
Another mandate.
21 days. Sure. I'm like, but God, I just finished. And then it's done. You know, and sometimes you believe and think that after this 21 days,
something magical
big is going to be nothing. It's just another instruction. After a certain 21 day, it'd be like 40 days, 6 to 6. That's what I want from you. You know, at the time, I didn't understand what was happening. And I mean, I did different kind of fasts as I detailed in the book. You know? But he was killing a lot of appetites inside of me. You know, sometimes God cannot use you when your flesh is addicted to the things of the world.
Absolutely.
You know, because I mean, I've received certain offers. There was this other gentleman when you see some of the wars that are happening in the world. You know, the Israel, Iran, and all these type of wars and everything like that. And then I think it was part of he was supporting this other, you know, one of the nations and everything. And it was like, I would like for you to write a certain article like this and I'd pay you a certain amount a day. I looked at the man, I'm like,
money is
that's
good.
an opportunity. But then, you know, God was like, nah.
There's a certain way you work with God.
That's not what I called you to do. But had he not killed that appetite,
you would have
had he not killed the
money.
lust for the flesh, you know, I would have jumped for certain opportunities. And that's where many young people fail when it comes to character and longevity.
There's this season of hiding, and it happens to all of us. It's just that maybe some of us, we don't want to be in that season of hiding.
No one wants to.
No one wants to. Like, life is good. Freedom is good.
Amen.
But it's not rewarding.
Yes.
You know, so I want us to tap into that season of hiding, because some of them, they would think like, I'm depressed. Like, I don't know what's happening, because we are so accustomed to noise that we don't know what it means to be alone and to be with God. We don't know. The noise is like it's telling us, now things are happening when we are surrounded with noise. But there are so many things that are happening in the secret place and in that season of, you know, of pruning. I want us to discuss, speaking to young men and women out there who might probably be in the same phase and they are thinking they are depressed, because some of them, they just don't want to, you know, adhere to the call to say, hey, I said 12 days, I said 21 days. They just want to do what they want to do because it's easier. We like easy things. But, you know, when you're operating from a place of obedience, he can tell you this tomorrow and you'll be like, God, but this is my thing. You know, how do I stop that? How will people look at me? How will they see me? And he's trying to kill the very same things. Are you called by me or are you called by people? Because some of the things that we do, we're giving ourselves assignments in this world because according to how people see us or the kind of perception that we want to portray in the world, but it's got nothing to do with God. And we see it by how much we are putting ourselves out there. We are forcing things. And we're thinking, I'm pushing. And sometimes, no. It is not us. It is us operating from the fact that I need validation. And for me to get validation, sometimes you do things out of character, like you are saying. If you did not go through the process of, you know, God pruning you, that offer you would have taken it and you would have thought about the GTI.
Exactly.
But then with the process of God, there's something about legacy and longevity, right? We have an example, Dr. Miles Monroe. Today we still speak about him and we look at the things that he has done. He focused so much on character. That's what got him to this place and the sacrifices that he had to make. And they were not all pleasant. They were not all easy, but he had to do it because there was a call upon his life. And he understood that, even if I don't understand, but because I understand there's someone who's greater, who knows everything. If I don't listen to him, that the world has got nothing to offer for me. So from that place, speaking to a young men and women, we are trying to reshape and trying to tell them reality of what is, and to try to deviate them from the sense of social media telling them everything is easy and you get it from even opportunity that can be used to destroy you when you think it's a good thing. But then how do we prepare them, to teach them that, there's a process, and how do we submit and subdue ourselves to the ways of God in a sense that even when he speaks to us, I'm able to say, what, God comes first because I don't know myself. He knows me better. And I cannot say I know everything. If I don't listen to him, rely and obey him, I'm ought to be in things that I'm not even supposed to be in. And the scars, some of them takes years to come out of there, like those scars, to heal them. Some of them don't heal, right? So let's speak to that, to young men and women out there, young children in high school, because they think they have a mentality that when I get out of here, I can just get a job and the GT and all that. Let's speak about that because it's so interesting. Social media is so powerful, but we need this voice. We need someone who can relate to the young people. Actually, this is the reality.
You said a word that actually sums everything of what you say.
Yeah.
Obedience.
Sure.
A friend of mine once told me this and he said, God's love language is obedience.
That's it.
It's not everything. These other things that, the noise that we are making, God doesn't care about. He cares about the heart and obedience. That's what Jesus used to teach.
That's it.
And the Pharisees and all the Sadducees, they were like, no, you must wash your hands like this. You must stand like this. You must do this at this time.
The etiquette.
God. Yes. And Jesus was like, nah, the heart and obedience. That's all I care about. He understood that he's dealing with human beings. He's not dealing with machines. And this is what separated the likes of King Saul and King David.
Sure.
King David sinned more than King Saul. But the difference was that King David sinned from a human perspective.
Sure.
He made mistakes like any other person and repented. King Saul, on the other hand, wanted people's approval. God would say, don't do 1, 2, 3. And then if things didn't go the way he thought they were going to go and people were starting to pressure him and questioning him, are you the king? And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, he'd do that to please the people. And then God realized that we are not going anywhere with King Saul.
Validation that we were
He
speaking
seek
about.
validation.
Sure.
You know what's funny? As you're saying this thing, I was just even thinking about it a few days ago and everything like that. Maybe I believe it was God preparing you for this. 2022 was actually one of my best years, right? Because
How so?
I released Rethinking Black Consciousness. That was my second book. And I got some of the best gigs that year for speaking, right? In March, I went to Turkey. There was a conference, Best Diplomat Conference, and then we were there debating with, all these other great international youth doing extremely and powerful things. And I showed up. One thing about me, I'm a speaker.
Yeah.
I'm a speaker. So irrespective of where we are in the world, when I stand on stage, people just want to kind of like, listen and even investigate how I came up with such, confidence and so many things. They were even calling me the young Mandela there, So, and then in May, I was also invited once again to the Best Diplomats in Dubai, another conference. And I blew the stage, And I was having so much, I can say, social success, so much social noise, which I'd never experienced in my life. And literally, I thought, you know what, God, from this point on,
we are going higher and higher.
You know what I mean? That's the expectation.
Right?
That's what people are expecting. That's what people are saying, everything like that.
Sure.
And then there was some spiritual, what can I say, encounters that I had. very important spiritual encounters. I mean, in my own church, in the ZCC community,
Yeah.
you know, went to Marobatwita High School, I gave a speech, and, you know, that's the bishop school, and, you know, big shots come there and everything like that. And I literally thought, you know what, this is God validating me and showing me, you know what,
We are going higher.
immediately after those spiritual encounters, God was like, okay, well done on your part.
Thank
For
you.
now, the next season is the wilderness.
And one would be like, how come? I've been to the world. I shared that I've been to Dubai. Something must happen. I must keep busy. They're
Exactly.
expecting content.
Exactly. I'm like, wilderness.
Sure.
How? You know? And even brought spiritual mentors in my life who were like, I don't know, but God tells me you need to kind of be a bit of a ghost on social media. I'm like, what do you mean? And God is busy telling me this. And these people are now confirming to say you now need to go into a season of hiding. Like, what do you mean? Doesn't make sense.
That's the toughest decision to make.
You see. And then I battled with that, and I would fast and believe. I was like, nah, this is the devil's voices. It's not God. I mean,
social media is the platform where
Exactly.
people, we reach, and we really support us there to say, but God, how am I going to reach out to people?
Yes. How are my books going to sell?
Yes.
How am I going to grow as a speaker? How is this and this and this going to happen? You know, and you're even getting invitations from big radio stations, big TV stations and all these things. And there's so much noise in my life. And I struggled. I'm not going to lie.
It's a true struggle.
That year until I think December, from I think July, there was so much on God's side, there was so much silence
Sure.
and so much noise from within me, right? This is when I realized that a lot of influencers and a lot of people who are, I can say in my position as young, you know, trailblazers, authors, artists and everything, they actually manufacture success.
Because you have to keep giving
Yes.
something.
You have to keep the noise going to stay relevant. You know, they end up, there's this thing, I would end up going to maybe my friends or certain people are posting that there's certain workshop, there's a certain leadership, what, and then there'll be these big shots who are speaking, who are giving talks there and all these things. I'd find a way to go there. To meet with those leaders, get pictures, because now God was like, okay, cool. If you want to do this your way, you're not going to get the platforms. So I was no longer getting platforms, but I tried to be in those vicinities.
You are forcing yourself
Yes.
to
To try and make sure that, let's say on social media, people know that Mr. Infinite is still moving. They even gave me this nickname, Mr. Infinite, you know, because, I mean, I just wrote Infinite Teen and I just kind of pushed the Infinite Company and all these things. And then they're like, nah, you Mr. Infinite. You nonstop. You are what and everything. And then I was like, wow, okay. Kanti, no, they are branding me who they believe I am. And that's not who God is saying I am. So now I needed to keep feeding into that idea and into that image. So I had to kind of always manufacture things. Yes, in this event, so these guys with the big
have
shots.
to keep busy.
You know,
Oh
yes.
my God.
And then you're on this roller coaster, or even hamster wheel, and you're just running, but you're not running anywhere. You're not even making progress.
Moving in
everything.
circles.
Yes. And then 2023, it happened a little. And then I think that's when God was now getting to me. And I was now
We are together
understanding.
now.
Yes. That, you know what? You can't fake this thing.
You can't.
You can't. You can fake all these events that you go to and be like, yeah, I roll with DJ Mang Mang. I roll with Bishop Mang Mang. I roll with, you know, all these things. You can fake that and wear all the clothes. That's where a lot of artists and all these people are suffering. God will say, go into the season of hiding. They will struggle. They will even go into debt to kind of make events which God is not even funding, to buy certain cars, buy certain clothing and everything like that.
To be relevant.
Just to be relevant, just for the noise to keep going. And then the mentor, we had another encounter again after he told me that you need to hide a little. And then he said, and then I was like, I was now understanding. So I was now willing to meet him halfway in the conversation. I'm like, cool, I see what God is telling you. But now how am I going to make sales and all these things? And then he asked me a very important question. He's like, how many sales have you ever generated via social media? I sat down, I checked, and I realized that possibly not even 10 in a space of 3 years or even
But you
4.
convinced yourself that.
I convinced. The noise kept coming. And he was like, he taught me something. He was like, it's not you selling.
It is him.
It's God. You know? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, look at the opportunities you've received. You've
And
gotten
some of them,
calls.
they came looking for you.
They came looking for, I never went. The ones where I went,
You never
nothing
auditioned.
happened. It's like, you know, even, 2024, I even met President Ramaphosa. I was, started canvassing and everything. And then I was just invited. They were like, hey, there'll be President Ramaphosa here. Because I was, also busy politically. I think that was also a
Like
way to get
consciousness.
the noise out there, And I mean, they were like, yeah, there's President Ramaphosa, this and this and this, and all these encounters. And then luckily enough, I mean, as a spiritual person, sometimes God, tells me certain things. I mean, I'll see it prophetically, I'll see certain things. So, I mean, I had a moment whereby I could feel that there's a possibility I might meet President Ramaphosa. I could just feel it in my spirit.
Yeah.
There was a knowing.
Yeah.
And then I got the invitation. That was 2024. The intuition came 2023, which I believe is the Holy Spirit, which was telling me. And then it happened in 2024. And then I was just there. Tried to manufacture, tried to get away to meet him. None of that happened until I was in a state of calm. And then he saw me with my books. And then he's like, tell me about them, something like that. And then we had an engagement. That's when I realized that this thing of trying to push, force, and, trying to go at the world, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't. If we can just be obedient and do what God says we must do, That's why from 2024 and 2025, that's when I was now extremely obedient. Even on my social media, I was a ghost. People are like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you? And everything. I'm like, no, I'm just home, I'm chilling. And funny enough, that's when I started experiencing peak level peace. There were no expectations from people. There were no demands. There was no noise. There was no, you know what I mean?
Obedience came naturally.
Yes. And then that's when I realized that many of the events, just like early this year, I've had these amazing events. One, I was emceeing at Gold Reef City, and then another, I was speaking at two, I was actually speaking at a department event. I didn't even apply. They just called.
There's this saying that God will make sure that your name is mentioned in rooms that you've never stepped into. That's what you are basically saying. And like most of us are in that season. I couldn't understand when I had to get away from Facebook and all that. I'm like, God, I'm a brand. I'm like, I don't know. I just wrote my book. I'm a brand. I'm hosting events and it was a difficult decision to make. And I can relate so much to your story because it's true. And it's not only the two of us that are going through that. There are a lot of others that are still fighting that feeling. Because we need to be solid before we can be launched. Amen. We need to be prepared in secret before we can be launched. Because influence comes with a lot of responsibility. Don't think just because you are intelligent. Influence comes with a lot of responsibility because by you saying a word, we can alter someone's future.
True.
Because they believe that you have that authority. And God cannot trust us with influence for as long as we are still operating from flesh. That's very dangerous. And we see a lot of them now. We see a lot of people who has influence, but they are irresponsible, Kayona. That's why we see a lot of voices that are misleading our young kids. They're telling them, this is how you do it. And if we are not sending the message out there to say, it's not how it is. Life comes in seasons, just like we have 4 seasons in a year. Just believe that even in your life, don't say maybe God doesn't love. Season comes. They apply in also our lives. There's a season of winds, there's a season of learning, there's a season of wilderness. But all in all, they are working to our advantage. I mean, how else would you be sitting here sharing such nuggets of wisdom if you didn't go through that? If you were not obedient to say, okay, God, although you struggled, but at the end of the day, you got mentors and you just relaxed in that space of wilderness and support came. And he made you who you are and he'll continue to make you who you are. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation. Now, let's talk about the future.
Before we get to the future, can I really touch on something?
Absolutely.
You spoke about capacity. In terms of longevity, you look at the likes of King David, spent 15 years in the wilderness. Joseph spent, if I'm not mistaken, 12 years in prison, prison and slavery.
Yeah.
And then you look at Mordecai, there in the book of Esther, was sidelined until the time for being enthroned came. So in the wilderness, God is, building capacity.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes I think we often overestimate our abilities. Because after writing Infinite Teen, I thought I'm ready. I can go to the world.
Take the world
I can
now.
do everything. And God was like, nah.
We're not yet there.
I'm not trying to make you a one-hit wonder.
Sure.
I want to make you a generational voice.
And it takes a lot of beating.
Exactly.
I'll make an example. Maybe you pray about, God, there's this opportunity in this big company that I would like to be in. You know, the instructions that He's going to give you after praying that prayer, it's not about you applying for the job. They're about yourself. Maybe He'll show you something that you were not paying attention to. Maybe you are selfish and you say, deal with that. Maybe you are self-centered. I'm saying do this and you are thinking about validation. You are not ready for that. And it's so, now I understand when they say all things work together for our own good, but sometimes you don't understand. You pray about a specific thing, He's going to show you things that will ruin that opportunity you are praying about. And if you are not obedient enough and say, okay, this is where I need to work and do the work, you'll always be saying, but why all the time when I'm asking for this, you are telling me to do this? Is there something wrong with me? You can't just give me an answer. You always give me instruction, but He's preparing you because He knows once He can give it to you now, you are going to destroy it. And we are going to go back to Him and cry and say.
And it's going to destroy you.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And I'm thankful for this conversation because, sure, I believe it's going to even touch generations and generations. So we are talking about longevity. And I'm glad that we spoke about that because that's the reality of being established, being a generational voice, obedience more than anything. It's not moving from a place of validation. We cannot afford to move from a place of validation. And I'm speaking to not only to leaders, I'm speaking to each and every person in their occupation. You really need to step into your power through going back to where God wants you. Because sometimes we are there, but then He's still waiting for us. Where the assignment is like, be silent, sit down, let me teach you.
Be still.
Be still. So yeah, we will be still. I know there are a lot of people who need to be still, and I'm thinking that them watching this, they will be able to say it's time. And we will produce a lot of generational voices that will make impact because we need them. We can see what is happening in our country, and we cannot be sitting down and be quiet. We should be that generation that, God spoke about in Isaiah 60, arise and shine for your time has come. But before the time, there's a process.
Amen.
And if we don't adhere to the process, we'll always say the scripture, but time will not come. It takes obedience. Going back to your books, Rethinking Black Consciousness. I mean, you spoke about we can't afford to see education as just a tool to open doors. It means something different for us as Black people. What inspired you to write Rethinking Black Consciousness?
So after writing Infinite Teen, right?
Yeah.
So it touches a lot on, for example, working on yourself internally, mental development, spiritual development, emotional, and all types of, character building processes. After finishing it, I thought, you know what, I'm done. But God was like, okay, fine. You can build, the person internally. But what about externally? What about the structural oppressions that still exist? As you were saying, as a Black person, you can be highly educated and still be marginalized from certain, opportunities and all that. So God is now showing me some of the systematic issues that are present to say it's not just about the person, but also the system is broken,
It's true.
But again, instead of just complaining about the system and crying about it, you can also build the person to know and understand the system, right? And to then thrive within that system. I mean, we can always argue that the education of Africa is more like a rote learning education. It's just about cramming, passing and forgetting. What are they doing? That educational system was designed long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, even it came back, it resurfaced, I think, during the Bantu education. It's basically just producing
more
manual
and more
slavery.
sharper, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Sure.
You're just a manual slave. You just for example, you're just working. You just need to keep the system rolling while the elites, just keep prospering and thriving and all that.
And you're the one, moving the engine.
Exactly.
Sure.
Working for just a pension, which is merely, if we can truly be honest, possibly 1% of what you would have generated for all these industries, So it was God revealing certain things like that to say, instead of just studying, trying to pass for exams and all that, pursue real education.
Yeah.
real education that shall emancipate you mentally.
Yes.
I believe, as Bob Marley once said, that he said, I think freedom emancipates mental slavery or something like that. Forgive me if I'm butchering it. But it's all about, breaking away from the mental enslavement. It's one thing to just be passing and just getting distinctions and whatnot, and just going to be another corporate slave.
That's true.
And it's another thing to, while studying, to enlarge yourself mentally, looking at life differently, trying to look at opportunities, working and investing, all those things, and building, I don't know, a company or even, industries or even generational industries for your family. These are some of the things that we often don't look at as like Black people. There are people who've done that. They said, I'm just going to work maybe for 5 to 10 years.
Sure.
After that, I'm running my own empire. They use the salary and everything like that instead of falling for these traps of, for example, credit loans, credit cards, and all these things that, hold you back, and rushing for the lifestyle inflation or even the validation, rushing to buy that expensive GTI. I mean, you're earning 10K and you're buying a GTI that's like 700,000. How are you going to pay that? Logically, that does not make sense.
Talking about that, I'm remembering some post. So this other guy, I think he was applying for a GTI, and I think his salary was not salary. And the management was like from me to you, what are you going to eat? So going back to what you're saying, is someone serious? But you can see the kind of mindset that he has is putting him down than, elevating him.
Exactly. It's like, so long as the streets are impressed, I'm fine. You see what I mean? And you ask yourself, like, for what? Are you living for the streets? Are you living for people? Is it about the validation? Like, literally, there are people who are earning serious money out there, but then they relax and then they're like, you know what, for example, I'll just buy maybe a Picanto. I'll just relax. So maybe even a Polo or whatever. And I'm not saying people should delay their dreams or whatever, but sometimes you need to, think far
ahead
and be like, okay, fine, I'll just buy this cheap car so then I can save the bulk of my money, so I can invest, I can build whatever it is I want, depending on what you want, or even invest and grow further and all these things. Instead of, and then there's this thing also of lifestyle inflation. Once a person gets a promotion, but Rolex, you see what I mean? And now you're fetching that Mercedes and you're fetching that what. That's
you're
why
moving from expensive places.
You see what I mean?
Now you are upgrading your life instead of just remaining and using your money to advance yourself. You don't have to change so much.
And you ask yourself, how? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that people are not even thinking about. And if we could just be humble, this is what the season of wilderness does. Humility.
It strips you of the need to...
Everything. You realize none of this defines me. None of this defines me.
Doesn't matter.
Even if I don't have this watch, I'm still Muhluri.
Yeah.
Even if I don't have this suit, I'm still Muhluri. It's not about how people are going to see me. It's not about how people are going to take me. So long as God thinks I'm fine, I'm good.
And
I don't need people saying, hey, Muhluri, because you are into such places, now you need to wear like this. You need to... In the season of what do you call this thing? Wilderness. I'm deviating a little. My apologies.
Yeah, no
it
problem.
was so insane in such a way that I went from selling books weekly and to zero, nothing happening because I was being disobedient. And God was like, no, I'll shut the reserves. That's when I realized that it was not me selling. It was
He's
God.
the one who makes people come looking for your products, who makes people come by.
I remember this other young
Sure.
person. This thing actually shocked me. It nearly broke me. Now, she was like, I dreamt of God showing me your book.
Wow.
I'm like, what? She's like, yes. She read the book, and then she was like, a few months later, and then she sends the testimony, and she's like, the book changed my life. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm used to such messages. And she's like, you know why I went for your book? And I'm like, why?
Why?
And she's like, I dreamt of it.
Sure.
She's like, you came, you once spoke to us, 1, 2, 3, and then I didn't care. And then a year later, I dreamt of it. I dreamt buying it, and then that's when God revealed that, you know what? It's not me selling.
And now it goes back to the quality of your work. You can't afford to just write because you want statistics or you want to finish and have a lot of books out there because you are given power and authority to speak life into someone. You can't afford to get it wrong.
Exactly.
So if you are not obedient to say, if he says, we are doing this in 3 years, and you push to do it in 2 years, the message is not
the
yet
people.
done for the people.
For them to say, Oli, he's very smart. He's very intelligent. He's a mover. You see what I mean? So these are some of the arguments, even in rethinking. I'm like, there's parts where it's media enslavement or media, and then there's educational, and then there's religious, and then there's alcoholism, and also political imprisonment. So I kind of look at the historical ways in which those things were happening and how they've been maintained. So you look at the religious aspect. I'm a Christian, but go to the township.
Sure.
Every corner, right, of a township, there's a church. And only one business, a bottle store.
And it's thriving.
Yes.
It's thriving. It's
exactly.
like we're looking at the social standard, social status of this country. And now it's like alcohol is a mechanism to numb the pressures. So it's like we're running in the enslavement circle to say, I'm going to work, I'm not any much. I have to impress other people, validate. And in the process, I can't bear that on my own. Now I have to use alcohol to numb that. What does that do? It's a circle. It's just we're moving within the same circle. You're doing this. It's like we are enslaved so much that even the system, like you're saying, there's a church there, we pray. You have Monday to Friday where you have to go to work. Your reality does not speak to that church you go to every Sunday. So even how we look at our belief somehow is not really free. We are not believing as we should. It's like our belief is imprisoned. Yes, systematic. So that means I have to believe in a certain way. So you can't, there's a certain results of a person who believes freely and to believe that, I've got freedom. I was not called to be a slave of this world. But that means my dreams matters to God.
Comes back to the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Sure.
That's how religion was before Jesus came.
Sure.
It's the same.
So that system, do you see that we are so enslaved so much that if we don't study our history of how we were enslaved, starting from the mindset, starting from the system, starting from everything that was built around us and we think it's for our own improvement. If we don't study that, we will continue to be in the same circle and we'll continue to cry and say, black people, this black people, that black people. And I love the fact that you tapped into this space because we can flourish.
True.
You can flourish and get opportunities, but somehow you are still enslaved by how you are following through the same system. Even when you just spoke about the CEO, Apelaka Machonisa, that's a system.
Yes.
It shows mental slavery.
Enslavement.
And it's a system. And even our communities are built like that. If we don't read about, we have this mentality, but apartheid happened, we have to let it go. Hello, you need to read those books to get the sense of what really happened, what got us here.
You know what it's like?
Yeah.
It's like after the Israelites left Egypt. They left Egypt, but Egypt was still in them.
The mentality was not left.
Exactly. Apartheid may have left us,
but the mentality,
we are still within. You know what I mean? So, what do you call this? Seasonally or whatever, the apartheid season has passed, but it has not left us. It's still inside of us.
Our mentality,
mentally,
how we think,
how our lifestyles and everything like that.
Perception.
And with the alcohol thing, as you're saying, right? If you were to study during the enslavement times, slavery, there was a gentleman called Frederick Douglass. He was an intellectual of the time. He used to argue that, I think it was in the 1700s or something like that. He used to argue that the slave masters do not fear the hardest working or drunken slave. They fear the sober slave. Because why? They're going to be working from Monday up to Saturday, right? And then on Sunday, they would have, it was the weekend, Sunday. They only had 1 day to rest. On the Sunday, the slave masters would kind of like bring in a lot of alcohol for them. It was a merry day for them, to numb them. And then they would bet on like this one would bet on the slave to say, my slave can drink more than your slave. And then this one would bet on, you know what I mean?
And they knew what they were doing.
Would be drunk to even think about the freedom. But the slave master would be worried about the sober one who's sitting alone, because there you can plan an insurrection or a way to find freedom.
And see things for what they are.
Exactly. And then it happened again even during the apartheid system. Outside the mines, right? They started building shebeens.
Yeah.
So basically, immediately after working and everything like that, right? What's the next step? You must drink, numb. Try and forget about that. Instead of thinking about your future, investing for a family or
You can't
whatever,
think further than
you
that.
can't.
You have
must
to
always
be
drunk.
intoxicated to think here.
Yes.
And it's a system Monday to Friday. Friday, the whole weekend, we are busy. Monday, you are going back to the same cycle.
You see. So basically, you don't have a chance to be sober to think about your life or to even be with your family. The only time you must be sober is when you're at work. That's why booze is not tolerated at work. After work,
You can
be as
do whatever
drunk
you
as
want. And we can relate that to the busyness of social media.
Yes.
How it's keeping us busy. You go to work, the time that you have to rest, now you are keeping up with all this.
there's a gig.
There's a gig.
what. There's a what.
Someone invited me. You don't even have time for yourself,
down.
for your family. Even your quality of life is compromised.
Exactly.
And that's another. Remember, systems are the same, but methods are different now.
They need to meet up with the standards of the present day.
Sure. So, what were you trying to address with this book?
In simple terms, black person, wake up. In simple terms. There's nothing wrong with entertainment. There's nothing wrong with having fun. There's nothing wrong with all these things. But you as a person need that time whereby you investigate your life. You try and introspect and ask yourself, am I really going the right way? You know, am I another hamster in this hamster wheel, just working and earning money and just splashing the money out there and everything like that? You know what I mean? Am I really in the right direction of just studying recklessly without even knowing what I'm studying for? I just want the next title or these things, you know? And then you look at the other part of, we've touched on the alcoholism and all these things, the media side, you know? If you look at our black families regarding social media and media, they go home 6. At the time, Skim Sam used to play at 6.
Yeah.
Right? So you'd find the black mothers, they're tired. They work far, the transporting,
Waking
and
up
what.
early.
You literally going home 2 hours. 2 hours you're on the way, connected the taxi and all that. Now you cook, you prepare, you help the family and whatever. From 6 p.m. it's now Skim Sam.
There's no any other activity.
You watch that until at the time when I wrote this, No Dlala the Queen, which is like, I think 9:30 or 10 or something like that. 4 hours.
Gone.
4 hours gone.
You're not in control of it, but
Nothing. Same cycle the next day. Same cycle. And then with men, there's barring soccer fixtures everywhere. I understand. And there's I'm a football fan.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you track me on WhatsApp, you'll find a lot about World Cup and this and this and this, But I've learned to regulate that. Maybe support one team in a weekend.
And that's enough.
Yeah, it's you can't be watching the whole fixture and expect you'll succeed. Because Monday there's teams playing. You
can't be watching all the games.
UEFA. Wednesday, you know what I mean? You're following. Ka weekend, you watch the whole fixture. The scores and everything. We come to you. Do you think you're going anywhere in life? You see what I mean? Or when we want to bet on Betway, we come to you. You know the stats.
You'll give us the right fixtures and we will win. We know for sure.
So now I support Pirates. I'm just there by Pirates.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just watch Pirates Nyanaka weekend. I'm done and then I just do whatever, chill with family, relax, have fun, invest in other things during the week. I'm working, reading, studying, whatever. I know maybe it's like a Tuesday and then another, you know what I mean? We need to be human. We need to relax. We need to have fun. We need to chill. We need to really explore and all these things. I even watch soapies, but I'm going to watch one at a time. I get 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to commit to that one. That thing I order from 6 until 10.
It's UTV.
No, I can't. Or even on social media.
Sure.
I'm literally scrolling. I'm busy commenting and everything. And I feel like that's where social media, I even wrote about it, social media imprisonment. This is where it has killed us. It made us feel as though we have a voice and we are important enough to be.
And it's in prison because we do the same thing every day.
Hey, Khaukhelo has dumped her boyfriend or is divorced. Hey, we knew Khaukhelo, there were signs were there.
Imagine.
And then this artist has done this. Now we are commenting on this one. There will be trends every day.
And
if
now
you go on Twitter, you know what I mean? There's always something. And you can't just be like a hamster on that wheel. You can't. Hence I decided consciously, I was like, Twitter is not for me. There's a lot going on there. Put it aside, Insta, put it aside, and all these things. I just have WhatsApp. I just deal with,
It's enough.
You see, it's enough. I just post, I speak with my business clients or whatever, and all these people, family. I can't be catching up with all the
you don't have the
when
time.
I was Kim Kardashian, you know about the Ramaphosas, you know about this, you know
All
about
the
this,
soapies
but
and the
not about your
series.
life.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some scenes which are really painful. I've seen parents at home with their children, right? And everyone is on the phone.
No connection.
And I'm like, wow.
Real connection, nothing.
You sit with this person tomorrow, they're going to tell you about what Rihanna's doing, what this one is doing, what this one is
Nothing about
doing.
us.
Nothing about their own children. And you expect to raise functional children.
It's not possible.
You can't.
And it's not with that kind of setup, because if we do it, we are showing them that if I don't want to talk to you, I can just be in my phone.
Exactly.
Same applies to how we build in relationship these days. There's no element of respect where we value connection. Even when couple is sitting on a table, it's like this moment is not important. One must be on the phone, like in touch with the other world. And you ask yourself, what is it that we are building if we don't value human connection? And you can't be connecting with everyone, but there are specific people that are in your life that are important, that you are given the privilege to connect with. I mean, you get to see that connection everywhere is not valuable. Like you can think or you are connecting with everyone. Social media can make you think you have a real connection with people, but it's nothing, because it's not based on the truth or the reality. But there are those people that in every season they are there. But we are denying them the opportunity of real connection, because we thinking the ones that are on Facebook that are continuing to inbox you have some sense of value more than the ones that are before you, who can carry you when things go west. But now we are fascinated by the ones who has easy access. Hi, Muhluri, I'm inspired by you. Can I take you out for coffee? And you think is the it thing. We don't even know how to now differentiate valuable relationships anymore. Time is no longer on our side, but I enjoyed this conversation.
Likewise.
And I know for sure that everyone is going to enjoy it. Not only enjoy, but learn. Because I want us to raise a better nation, better family structure, and it starts with us. If we are conscious of our mindset, of our habits that are holding us back, then we are saying something. We are a voice to say, I want to be that example that represent, that verse, arise and shine, for your light has come.
Amen.
But it takes work. It takes consciousness. Let's not be afraid to study the very same things that brought us here. It's scary. You can be full of mixed emotions, but let's face them so that we make better decisions. We are able to identify, this is the system, but it's showing itself in a different way. Let's not be afraid to confront. Read that book that you're afraid to read, especially about us Black people, how we got here. Read it, because it will open your mind. You'll be able to see, but this is the system, but in another form. But once you are not aware, the system will repeat, and even if it comes in another form, you won't even see it, you won't even recognize it. So this conversation right here is going to be, and I'm not speaking about now, even if you are no longer on earth, it will still be speaking to generations to come, because we need this. We need to hold the ground for them. We need to show them and teach them how important grounding is, because we are not only here to play or just be one of the statistics. We have work to do. Generational work to do.
Amen.
What's your last words to our viewers?
I mean, my last words, this is one of those nerve-wracking moments, because now you kind of have to think.
You're a natural.
But I mean, I think I'd like to share a part where I wrote in Infinite Breakthroughs, right?
You're welcome to
the
that.
people. I'd like to say, more especially young us in business, hustlers, entrepreneurs, and everything like that, right? Stop being so concerned about the world, about the trends, about, being seen and the noise and everything like that. You don't need the validation, And this is what God taught me in my secret place. It's that if we look at Jesus didn't go around preaching and what? Campaigning and saying, I'm the Son of God and all these things. He didn't. You know what I mean? He became the brand that God called him to be. Literally, his life was just him going to the mountain to pray and coming back down. And then he'd see people doing wrong or whatever and teach them. And just like that, a sermon would have started. There was no administration, campaigning, marketing, and wada and all these things. People ended up branding him as the teacher. They would come to him for a message and everything like that. So instead of chasing the noise, chasing the marketing, chasing the platforms and everything, become the brand, become the platform. You don't need that building, that church, or that trouser, or that Rolls Royce, or that. You don't need that. You just need to become the platform. The people will find you. Jesus didn't have all these things. People found him because he became the platform. People ended up branding him with the truth, the wisdom, and the person who led the way, just like people like Dr. Miles Monroe. So once again, in terms of longevity, character, and all these things, stop focusing on people, on the noise and everything, and social media and all these things. Just become the brand, become the platform, be virtuous in your private space, and people are going to find you. And God will lead them there, and you're going to become a voice for the generation. Stop manufacturing it, stop being fake, and stop being needy and wanting to be approved of. Those are my last words.
My lovely people, arise and shine, for your time has come. From me to you, until next time. Goodbye.